Hello, it is IARESMART, and today, guess what we're doing? We're going to talk about Reddit again. I know. IARESMART, you just made a video last week about Reddit. Well, guess what? I made that video, and in that video I said Reddit's a pretty bad place where some good stuff happens once in a while. And conveniently, the week after, the biggest news ever happens, and now I gotta talk about it. Now, you probably have seen or heard something going about like Reddit and like the stock market and GameStop and hedge funds. And if you're like me, you probably heard some of this stuff and you're like, what the heck is going on? So I have done the hard work for you, and I have done some research. So here I'm going to explain what's going on. Because if you didn't know, I'm actually in AP Econ right now. If you don't know what that is, it means it's a higher level college class, which means I'm big brain, if you couldn't tell. I know a lot about economics, okay? I'm kind of a genius. I'm joking here, I don't actually know much. But anyway, economics is just pretty interesting to me. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to explain to you how economics works. So, you've probably heard about all the weird stuff that's going on, and you're probably like, what the heck is happening? So I want to explain that in the best way I can, in the way that would make sense to someone who has no idea what's going on. So first, I'm just going to explain to you what the stock market is. You've probably heard about this, but if you're not in America, if you're like maybe in like Europe or something, you're like, what the heck is the stock market? How does that work? And to be fair, even I don't fully understand how it works, you know. It's very complex and confusing. So I'm going to explain it in simple terms. Basically, let's just say you want to make money off of the stock market. What are you going to do? So, what is the stock market? Basically, there's this street. It's called Wall Street. It's in New York, and that's where the New York Stock Exchange is. And this is where you can buy stocks from all these big companies. You know, like Tesla and Apple and yada yada. All big companies. They make money, right? Companies make money. That's what companies and businesses do. They make money. So what you do, as a regular, average, everyday Joe, you go and say, alright, I'm going to buy a little tiny portion of this company, because obviously I can't buy the whole company. I'm just regular old me. But I want to buy a little sliver of this company. So when this company does well and sells a bunch of stuff, I can make a little bit of money, a little bit of kickback. And all this time, by me buying the little piece of the company, I'm helping the company grow. So it's just a mutual relationship where people can make money together. It's great. And anyone can buy it, go and buy stocks, sell stocks, and you can make money. There's a lot of different ways to make money off of the stock market. And it's this big, complex thing. But all you got to know is that you buy stocks, and if the company does well, the value of that stock that you bought will increase. And then if the company does poorly, the value of that stock will decrease. So what you want to do is, if a company is doing poorly, but you think that they might go up soon, you buy that stock for a very low price, let's say $18 a stock, or a share, as it's called. The stock is the whole company, but the share is what you buy. You actually buy a share. So let's say you buy a share for $18, and it goes up to $28. Well, dang, if you sell that for $28, you just made a profit of $10. Now imagine that with much bigger numbers, and we're talking about some sizable money here. So, that's how the stock market works. You know, if you probably already knew that, or maybe you didn't. So anyway, we're at a baseline now. So what happens now? Reddit. We have to talk about Reddit now. I've probably explained Reddit. It's basically like a place online where a bunch of people can talk anonymously, essentially. You have your username, and you kind of just say stuff. You can upvote stuff, you can download stuff, yada yada. Reddit. It's a pretty stupid place, full of a bunch of degenerates, but some cool stuff happens every once in a while. That isn't totally awful. Anyway, so what happens on Reddit? There's this place called r/wallstreetbets. What is wallstreetbets, you may ask? Well, that's also a difficult question to explain because they do a ton of stuff. I had heard of this subreddit before, you know, Wednesday, but they really kind of have blown up more recently and everyone knows about them now. So anyway, what they do is they bet on Wall Street stuff. They say, hey, I think this is going to happen. You know, I think this stock might go up. We want to invest in this. And people are like, oh, that's a good idea. And then they work together and they invest on stuff. It's basically just a community of people helping each other invest in the stock market without having to, like, go to some big economist and stuff. It's just people helping each other out. That's what a lot of subreddits are for. So what did this one do? Someone on this subreddit was like, there are these things called hedge funds. I'll get to those in a minute. I could make a lot of money if I do this really tricky thing. So he made a post, typed up, guys, we need to all invest in GameStop stock. GameStop stock. Yes. It's really low, and then we can make a ton of money off of it. And everyone's like, huh? And then he explains it a bit more, and then people are like, oh wait, this guy's onto something. So then we get to, I think this post was like Tuesday or Wednesday when he made that post, and I don't remember who it was exactly, because there was just a ton of posts of people all disputing the same idea. And then they all went and bought GameStop stock, and you've probably heard this part of the story now, where people are making like thousands of dollars, and big companies were like losing money, and yada yada. So now I have to explain to you hedge funds. So what is a hedge fund? This is a term I kind of forgot existed, because, you know, the stock market is kind of can be compared to like gambling, alright? Bear with me here. Gambling is like, you know, you give a bunch of money, and you spend a ton of money on something, and you hope that you're going to get a ton of money back. But also, you have a chance to just lose all that money. That's kind of what the stock market is like, because you've invested a lot of money into a company, you know, high risk, and then you can get a lot of that money back if the company does well, high reward. But also, you could lose all that money, so there's the high risk. A hedge fund is a certain business that makes money off of other businesses. So they have a bunch of shares, and they will invest in really safe stuff, like stocks that don't change very much, stocks that just kind of stay like this. Because a lot of big companies like Tesla or Apple kind of just go up and down like this, and they're really unpredictable. But there are also stocks that kind of just do like that, and just don't really change much in value. And these hedge funds will make a lot of money off of that. And like regular people will just, instead of investing directly through the stock market, they will invest through these hedge funds, and then they will get a little bit of a kickback. But it's mainly just big businesses exploiting not necessarily smaller, but these hedge fund businesses making money off of the stock market. So, one of the person who made that Reddit post, I don't remember who it was, some anonymous guy, whatever. Basically, he was like, yeah, these hedge funds, they're these guys are making a lot of money off of GameStop. What if we made GameStop's stock change? Because the hedge funds are betting on GameStop staying the same. Because if you think about it, who's actually going to GameStop anymore? Like, it's just an expensive place to buy video games, and you can just buy them digitally. And also COVID, so like no one's going outside to buy video games, so like, what? So, basically, all these Redditors were like, alright guys, let's all go invest in GameStop. So they all invest in GameStop. What happens to the stock? It goes like this, and then on Wednesday, the 27th, boom. The value of the stock went from like $17 a share to like $400 a share in a matter of a day. That is ridiculously unprecedented. Like, if you're not familiar, that doesn't very often happen. And so what happened was, you know, all these, you know, tons of people, like, we don't know how many people, but a bunch of people just jumped on it, just bought a bunch of stock and held on to that stock, and which then increased the value of the stock. I don't need to get into why, it's a bit more complicated, but basically all you need to know, the stock is more valuable now. So, you have this extremely valuable shares of GameStop, and they're making a ton of money off of this, while at the same time, billions, yes, billions of dollars are being lost by these hedge funds. These billionaires are watching billions of dollars be lost. It's absolutely crazy. They're losing so much money off of this, because their whole plan, I guess, evil scheme, if you want to get into that, I don't really buy into that, but like their whole plan of hedge funds just being safe and reliable just got totally thrown upside down, and now they're losing a ton of money. So, yeah, that's pretty much where we are now. However, there's more to the story, because one of the ways that a lot of people will invest in the stock market is through apps. Like, it's like eTrader, like one of them, and Robinhood. Robinhood's an important one. We'll come back to that in a second. So Robinhood, you know, the name Robinhood goes to, like, you know, steal from the rich, give to the poor, that fantasy character and whatnot. So Robinhood is an app that allows people to trade stocks. And ideally, you know, in a perfect world, you just go to this app, say, hi, I'd like to buy this much of this stock. They're like, okay, there you go. And then you can invest it. And it goes up and down, yada yada. So, Robinhood was kind of caught in this weird situation where a ton of people were using Robinhood to buy the GameStop stock. And also, AMC was another one. That's a movie theater chain. Movie theaters obviously aren't doing very well right now either. Their stock has been on a steady decline, but then the Redditors made it shoot up. And also BlackBerry, too. Like, you know, they make flip phones. They're not really around anymore, but their stock has just jumped up again, randomly. So these were like the big ones that the Redditors were using. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they were exploiting it, or they were doing something illegal. Nothing illegal was done. Like, nothing illegal was done by the Redditors. They were just using the stock market as intended. So anyway, so what Robinhood does is mysteriously, there's an outage, and oh, oops, sorry, we're having a problem with our servers. You can't buy any more of the GameStop stock. And everyone's like, what the heck? What's going on? What do you mean, Robinhood? I can't invest. And they're like, oh, sorry. And then people will like, all right, maybe there's just a problem with the app. But then they go and see if they can trade other things. So what happened was someone from these other hedge fund businesses must have made a deal like, hey, Robinhood, we'll give you a ton of money if you stop letting people trade GameStop. And Robinhood was like, okay. So essentially, they kind of gave up their namesake by stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. So that's why a lot of people hate Robinhood now, and for good reason, to be fair. So where are we at now? Well, a bunch of people made a ton of money, and a bunch of businesses lost a bunch of money. And now we have a weird situation where, like, you have, like, the very small section of Redditors who actually did something. And then you have all these other Redditors, you know, the neckbearded guys who just sit around all day, don't actually do anything. And they're all like, yeah, this is a revolution. We're going to get rid of class divide now. The rich are going to fall down, and the poor people are going to take over. Woo! Which is just a bunch of bullcrap that they came up with. But what's the actual point of this? Well, the point is the free market. Because this is something very interesting. The idea that, you know, people will say, like, oh, world, land of opportunity, America, you know, you can go invest in the stock market. You can make billions, just like all these other billionaires. But then people go and do it, and the billionaires get upset. So it's more of, you know, is the free market really free? And I find it really interesting that those questions are getting asked, you know? Is the free market really free? So yeah. Anyway, that gets into a bit more of a political ideologies and stuff, which we don't need to get into. But I just wanted to cover this news, because there's been a ton of misinformation about this, like, oh, they were doing something illegal, they were doing something illegal. The closest thing we have to someone doing something illegal was just Robinhood shutting down the GameStop trading. So, yeah, that's the closest thing we have to illegal. And also you could say hedge funds are kind of illegal, but they're really not. It's really just using legal things to make a ton of money, which is kind of scummy. But, Anyway, billionaires, they lose a ton of money, and a pretty sizable group of people gained a lot of money. So, hey, at the end of the day, that's what the stock market is for. High risk, high reward. So hopefully you know a little bit more about this topic. Let me know if I forgot anything. And if you actually watched all the way to the end of this video, dang, I didn't realize I could be entertaining for 13 minutes. I didn't think that was possible. So anyway, if you did make it to the end, subscribe. I make videos a lot, you know. You might as well subscribe now, so you can say, hey, I subscribed to IARESMART when he was only at 700 subscribers. And, you know, maybe a couple years from now, when I'm like a super rich billionaire of myself. I'm kidding, of course. But maybe, like, in the future, when I have a ton of subscribers, you can be like, yeah, I subscribed to IARESMART when he was only at 700 subscribers. So, hey, you might as well just subscribe now. You never know. You know, YouTube is like the stock market. High risk, high reward. I'm just going to hope that, you know, maybe one day my channel will do this, just like GameStop. So, anyway, yeah. Hope I helped you learn something today. You know, this is pretty basic information that I found online, but I just hope I put it in a presentable way so that more people can understand it, because it's an interesting story, and I wanted to cover it for a video. So, thank you, everyone. See ya on Wednesday.